It was a quiet, moonless night. The kind of night when even the wind seems to hold its breath. A lone car cruised down a stretch of desolate road, the tires humming on the asphalt. There was no sign of life for miles, or so it seemed. The driver, a man in his 30s, glanced nervously at the rearview mirror. He had been on this road for hours, with only the steady hum of the car's engine to break the silence. His eyes flicked back to the mirror, though, just as a sudden chill swept over him. At first, it was barely noticeable, just a shadow in the rearview mirror. But then, it moved. Slowly, steadily. A figure standing in the distance, obscured by the darkness. The driver tried to dismiss it as his imagination, but the feeling of being watched began to grow. He checked again, just to be sure. But there it was again, the figure closer this time. Only it wasn't standing still. It was moving, taking slow steps as if following him. The man's heart skipped a beat. Panic began to creep in. He sped up, but when he glanced back again, the figure was still there, closer than before. In the silence of the car, he could feel the presence of something just behind him, waiting. In a desperate attempt to lose whatever or whoever was following him, the driver swerved sharply, taking the car off the main road. But the figure didn't stop. It just continued, like it had always been there, stalking him from behind. No matter what he did, the figure remained behind him. Faster now, as though it had picked up its pace. The man could feel his pulse in his throat. Every time he looked in the rearview mirror, it was closer. And it wasn't just walking anymore. He blinked, certain his eyes were playing tricks on him, but the truth was undeniable. The figure had multiplied. Two more had appeared behind it, their silhouettes as indistinct as the first, but unmistakably there, closing in. A faint sound broke the silence, a whisper as though the figures were speaking, or were they calling to him? He couldn't make out the words, but the sound crawled under his skin. He looked back again. Then, for a brief, terrifying second, a face appeared in the rearview mirror. Not a reflection of the road behind him, but a pale, distorted face, staring directly at him with hollow eyes. The driver froze, his blood running cold. With a jolt, the car sputtered and stalled. The engine died, and the world outside seemed to go completely still. The driver tried to restart the engine, but nothing happened. Panic set in as the car sat helpless in the darkness. As the driver looked out the window, the figures were no longer behind him. They were surrounding the car, silent and waiting. He could hear their footsteps, slow and deliberate. His breath came in shallow gasps, then a soft tap on the window. The driver's heart stopped. He dared not look. The tap came again, louder this time, and then the whispering returned, closer now, breathing down his neck. Finally, unable to resist, the driver turned his head to look. What he saw was worse than he could have imagined. A face just inches from the glass, pale with eyes that were not eyes, black pits like endless voids. And then, everything stopped. The figures were gone. The tapping ceased. The whispering faded. The driver sat frozen, unsure if he had imagined it all. But when he finally looked in the rearview mirror, there was no road behind him, just a black abyss.